Hello, welcome back to Monster of the Week, Pine Lake. We've had a break of a couple of weeks for various reasons, but now we're back to it. Last session, we ended the first mystery, and now we will get into our first time skip, where we'll be jumping forward about 4 years, which will put us around 1990. We started in the mid 80s. Now we're in that shift between the decades. We're not going focusing on history. This is more just for the general feel and background and technology level of technology, that sort of thing. We'll go around doing character introductions. We may have things, or you may have things you want to note about your characters or important changes. But we will also go through this in these intervening years, not in detail. We may play a short scene here and there, but the focus is on what's happened to your characters, what's happened to the town, any minor mysteries you may have been involved in. And by the end of the session, we should be hopefully be getting into the next mystery. But we'll see. Depends on how things work out. So I will unimaginatively go in character keeper order. So we'll start with Lyle.
Hi, my name is Will. My pronouns are he, him, as are those of my character, Lyle Gerhardt. Lyle Gerhardt is the wayward scion of the Gerhardt crime family, who, since he was a teenager, has become more and more involved in the Gerhardt crime family. As you know, he graduated. Everyone believed that he was the one who was responsible for burning down the school. The sheriff cleared him of all that because he saved the sheriff's life, but obviously he's a Gerhardt. The school burned down. I mean, who else is it going to be, right? Everyone knows Lyle. And they're only technically, I mean, it's true, let's be fair. He did burn down the school. But yeah, he's been doing petty crime with his cousins. He's getting a bit of a way into the Gerhardt family. He's still, but part of that is because an assistant state attorney approached him and told him that that she thinks that the Gerhardts are really the ones who got rid of his dad, and so he thinks that might have some truth because whatever got rid of his dad, it was connected to this amulet, and his dad was deep in the Gerhardt crime family. So, but yeah, and he's been able to. Over the years, he's got more and more familiar with this amulet and the properties that it gives him. Like he can see beyond the veil. He's cast some very basic attempts at magic that have probably gone very wrong, mainly using them to bolster his scams, I think. And yeah, that is Lyle.
Cool, thank you. Next is Dot.
Of course, I'm having problems finding my microphone. Anyway, hi, my name's Puckett. I use he, him pronouns. I will be playing Dorothy Dot Harris, who is the Flake. She uses she, her pronouns. She is the son of the new prison warden. New prison warden is a term that probably gets applied for at least 5 to 10 years in a town like this because it's somebody new coming into the area. Her mother died of cancer. She spent most of high school trying not to be known as the dead mom girl, which was a struggle. So she kind of kept to herself. She bonded with Joss over their time on a conspiracy message board. Joss was a Pain Warrior, and then Dot's character was Peach Cupcake. Flirts with Pat and is pretty commonly says "fuck you, Lyle." So that kind of summarizes the relationships there.
Yeah, thank you. I assume you said Scion and not Son, since she goes by she, her.
Oh, I think that was Will. That's not the Scion of anything.
He definitely said she's the son of the governor. And I just put that as you copy me saying the Scion. But
Ah,
put a bit of American on it, maybe.
the daughter of the new prison administrator. My bad. It's been a long day already.
Yeah, I don't. It seems you heard it fine, but for me, Will was pretty much all robot there, and his picture is a bit choppy. So this may be my connection acting up. Let's hope that fixes itself.
We use that quite often with Will. Choppy and Will, it goes hand in hand.
Yeah, we'll see. Pat.
Hey, I am Jim Crocker, generally go by he, him pronouns. I am playing Pat Burton. And Pat is the initiate, which means that he is kind of like a servant of the organization. Don't call it a cult. That is descended from the ill-fated caravan that got lost in these mountains here, and when terrible things happened back in the pioneer days. And there's a kind of some of the descendants of the people of that caravan who survived have determined that there's an ancient evil here and that they need to be in the area to combat it and, be ready for when it arises and stuff like this. And so Pat has been kind of raised from a very young child to, be ready for whatever it is that's going to happen. We don't know what that is. We're planning to find that out. We've got some hints that our last monster may have been tied to it somehow, but we're just kind of going to figure that as we go. So kind of as a result, Pat is, I think we've sort of established he's not too bright, but he follows orders well. And he's, spent all his time training at fencing and fighting, and he can do martial arts and all that kind of stuff and everything, but sort of tries to keep that on the DL as much as he can. But for the fact that he is, kind of the captain of a remarkably good fencing team. Why is there a fencing team in this, on the high school in this remote mountain, village here up in the, in Montana? We don't know, but there is. And Pat is on there. Dot is on the fencing team with him. And he knows the others, Joss, from having had a supernatural encounter that he shared with Joss. And Lyle is described in our prophecies of our, documents and speculation about what's going to happen in the future and the connection to this ancient evil, but we don't know exactly how yet. But that does mean I got to kind of keep Lyle around, keep an eye on him, see what's going on. So that's sort of where we're at with Pat right now. Pat is the kind of legitimate, I guess, monster hunter in the, kind of in the group, and kind of raised and prepared for that. So be interested to see how this whole thing, fits in with everybody else.
Cool, thank you. And finally, Joss.
Hello, my name's Paul, pronouns he, him, and the character I am playing in this arc is Joss, also he, him. Joss is the Searcher playbook. Joss is a man caught out of time. Everybody else seems to have advanced in time, but Joss has not. He still hangs out at the CD store, video store, as a sort of clerk come master patron. He originally just hung around, and now school is finished. He has a small job. It's hard to say how much it pays. Joss also has a car with no sort of evidence of how he purchased it. Joss knows the others. He was found running butt naked through the woods near the military base by Pat, and that was his original introduction to the town. He clearly knows Dorothy through the bulletin board, where he goes by the name of Pain Warrior, and he clearly knows Peach Cupcake. And I think from school he probably knows Lyle through flunking off, really. But like most things, Joss's fellow people are just sheer amateurs. When it comes to flaking off, Joss is the king against Lyle. And while Pat may be a master martial artist, Josh knows Defendu, which is by far the greatest martial art of all time. In fact, he would be a world master, but the US Air Force wiped his brain when he was held in there, and now he is just a standard master of Defendu.
For sure. Speaking of the Air Force, what happens just a few weeks after the school fire is that the Air Force moves in and takes over that area of the town. This is officially, at least, a deal between the town and the Air Force that they're going to help clean things up and that sort of thing, like a community outreach and just helping the town sort of thing. But they stick around. At first, they just put up like a chain link fence around the school, but after a year, there's like a high concrete wall with barbed wire on top. So clearly they are sticking around there. So the high school gets, at first it's housed in the community college. They kind of share the space. So that's probably where you spend your last year before graduating. And then it's moved into these like prefab houses and slowly replaced by regular buildings in a different part of town from before, because the Air Force, they're sticking around, and it's very unclear what's going on there. I think they have torn down some of the buildings at least, but some are still there, and there's been some new construction as well. So that's something that's happening in this 4-year period. I think I'm going to start with Dot. On the non-recorded session where we did a little bit of this time skip stuff, from what from my notes, because this was a while ago, you left town to go to college,
Yes.
and then during that time you also worked at the prison to pay your way. And your plan is to work for the Innocence Project.
Yep.
And you may have you're partway through law school. During this time, you've come back into town to work and for some minor mysteries if it's like worked out with your schedule. Does that fit with your recollection?
Hey, the notes that I have are that I went to a 4-year state school and graduated in 3 because I took a bunch of advanced placement tests. I'm going to a 3-year law school. I'm in my 2nd year, and I worked part-time at the prison during undergrad in low security areas to help pay off tuition and, minimize the expense because, my dad may be the warden, but, wardens don't necessarily make a whole lot of money. And now that I'm in law school, I do volunteer for the Innocence Project, which has me at the prison a lot, talking to inmates. And so I am often around, even if it's erratic.
Mm-hmm. So what does your dad, how does your dad feel about the Innocence Project?
Well, that's... Broadly, he supports the overall idea of ensuring that only people who are actually guilty are incarcerated. It's just that he all too frequently happens to think that the people who are incarcerated at the prison where he works are all there as the result of court processes that had no flaws, no errors, ethical prosecutors who shared all of the potentially exculpatory information with the defense and so forth. So, yeah, it's in short, he thinks it's a great idea, but that's not a problem that exists here.
Yeah.
It's a
It's-
problem for other places like New
Mhm.
York or Los Angeles or, New Orleans.
Yeah. So has this caused tension, or is it like, yeah, sure, you can learn how to do that sort of stuff here, but you're going to do it somewhere else, or yeah.
It only causes tension when we talk. Otherwise,
So you're
it's
still-
absolutely fine.
Yeah. Are you still like living at home when you're in town, I would assume?
Well, that's a really good question. So, tossing out an idea, Joss, Pat, do either of you think that Dot might be crashing with you when she comes back to town, like for a case or a mystery or something like that?
I mean, Lyle's got a. I think Lyle would have. What's the point in crime if it doesn't pay well enough to have your own place, right? And what kind of criminal's still operating outside of his mom's house? So it's always space at Lyle's condo.
Didn't the Crays do that? Well, didn't the Cray brothers used to
They did.
live in their mom's place? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right. There's the boathouse. Yeah, Dot might actually stay. I mean, Will, I am not in any way, shape, or form trying to turn that down. It's just that I think staying with like a local criminal would probably add even more strain to Dot and her father's relationship.
I mean, you're only a local criminal when you've been convicted. What happens until proven guilty, Dot?
I'm not sure that in a small town, I think it's like whether you've been convicted or not is more like
There's
a
the court of
formality
public
thing.
Well, I mean, or is it a thing where like you live with your dad, but like you're like the roommates that never see each other, like like whatever. He works the night
shift
shift,
fast
day
for the night.
sleeps, and like maybe you grunt at each other or something like that, or like your breakfast is his dinner or something like that. But
The problem is doing Innocence Project work would have me at the prison at hours that he's there.
okay.
I think when things are really tense between us, I probably crash at the boathouse. Or I crash at Lyle's for a night or two, or, whoever's couch I can find. It wouldn't surprise me if I've actually slept in the basement at Red's a couple of times.
Mhm.
Not because, just because I don't want to go home and have another argument.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
trying to preserve the relationship with my dad as best I can because he's the only family I have left. And
What's Red's again? Is that the
the diner.
What about our video store?
The
Who would sleep
Innocent
in a video
Front.
store?
Yeah, they're all viable. I will tend to frequent all three of those locations for indeterminate periods of time. My place of work is the CD store, video store. The workshop, that's got an excellent view across the lake to the Air Force Base. And Red's is Red's.
Yeah, you know what? Especially if in the boathouse we have like a shitty old houseboat that like isn't really seaworthy, but that has like a bunk in there and stuff like that. Maybe
Might need to take a sleeping bag in there, but
yeah.
there's plenty of places I think where I can lay my head should my dad and I be arguing to such an extent that it's like, look, I really don't want to deal with this.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Because we're not going to see eye to eye on it, and it's not like it's not something I'm going to let tear us apart. And
Yeah,
if I stay there too much in times like that, it could.
I kind of dig the idea that Anders, you can start a session by saying, "Okay, Dot, where did you sleep last night?"
And have it not be creepy or weird.
Yes, yeah.
I'm
and
okay with that.
you haven't quite reached that level where you can just say that, oh, this is a point of contention. We're going to put that aside so that we can have like a nice dinner or that sort of thing. It's going to come up. So let me move on to Pat then. I feel like you would still be living at home. Is that right?
Oh, well, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So do you have a job, or are you doing like mystery things full time, or
so I imagine I would have a job that has some flexibility to it so that I can go and not a ton of responsibility, right? Like I'm not going to be driving an ambulance or anything like that. But I suspect I have some kind of a like cushy work study, like nepotism job at the community college that my parents got me. Like I'm a, whatever, like I'm the equipment manager for the gym or something like that, or some kind of like I get work study hours for it or something like this, but mostly it's I'm like it keeps me busy, just kind of gives me something to do, I think. And because like my parents are both well off enough that they're we've got that big rambling house, right? We've got the and I spend a lot of when I'm spend my time training and working out and doing all that kind of stuff, and at a job that is basically I'm just kind of marking time at waiting for something to happen.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I'm I wonder if maybe I'm like a security or something like that on campus or something. I don't know.
Ooh, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Maybe you have like you're like the go-to guy to fill in whenever someone needs when they need someone for whatever
sure
job.
Yeah, kind of whatever. I'm a like whatever version of we call like administrative assistant or something like that kind of
and I assume maybe you're taking some classes there as well to like the stuff that would be useful for your.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm an indifferent student, I think is kind of what we've established. So I'm taking, like I've got I suspected like I've got like 3 classes that aren't that challenging, and then I'm doing a bunch of like electives and whatever, like extracurricular, like I'm on the, whatever the lacrosse team and the, like doing some and stuff like that.
Cool. So Joss, you're working at the video store. Do you have your own place where you live, or are you just staying at these different places we talked about?
No, I think it is a true moving around these 3 locations. Probably living at either the video store or the boathouse. I think they're both good locations. Food will come relatively free at Reds, because cops hang out at Reds as well, and I'm quite in with the sheriff. He's kept me filled with some excellent information at what he can glean of going on. As Pat said, we've got a not too seaworthy houseboat that allows us to get close to the base if we need some close reconnaissance. CD Store has got a flat roof that allows us an overview over the fence of the old high school. So Josh is fully aware of the US Air Force's encroachment on the town, and he's basically spent 4 years doing absolutely nothing in that time. While Dot is the flake character playbook, I think really Josh sums up the flake as in he has done Sweet FA for 4 years, apart from talk to kids under his age about how great he is at video games, online poker, and Defendu, the greatest of all martial arts.
I think Pat and Joss would have regular video game sessions.
Of course, yes.
Yeah.
Video games for the win. But he's still in with the base investigation team. We are trying to get as much information as to what the US Air Force is up to.
Yeah. I think what you've been able to establish is that while they have torn down a lot of the buildings, like the main fire damage was like around the basement, since that's like the exit from the basement, that sort of thing. That part of the building they haven't torn down, but they have built like it's almost like they've built a shell around it. So there's like a big concrete building without windows or anything like that around that part of the school. They've torn down other parts of the same building, but that part you've been able to follow the progress there. They didn't tear that down, and instead they just built around it.
Well, it's clearly a containment facility around the extra dimensional rift that we discovered that nobody will take us take us up on, that we know the truth in there. Now, clearly in years to come, the US government are going to control the popular media, and they're going to do a TV program about this, and everybody thinks it's cool that kids know about this interdimensional rift. But we know, no, it's not cool. There's weird greys and things coming through that rift. It needs to be stopped.
I've heard stranger things.
Yeah. One thing that has happened at the video store is that you picked up a repeat customer, a guy who shows up. He starts showing up like a couple of months after the school fire. So he's been going there for quite a while. His name is Gary. He's in the portraits tab there, down on line 346, because there are a lot of lines in this listing. He shows up at the video store every week, Friday afternoon, and he always rents. Is it Enter the Dragon? Is the Bruce Lee movie, right?
Probably the greatest Bruce Lee movie.
Yeah. He always rents that, and he always says, I've been meaning to watch this. And he rents that, and then he leaves. He doesn't do a lot of small talk. But that's the same routine every time.
Clearly he hasn't watched it, because anybody that has would know that Bolo Young is by far the greatest martial artist in that film over Bruce Lee. We digress. But yes, I've clearly marked Gary never watches this movie because he doesn't know who Bolo Young is.
Could be. Yeah. So, Lyle, you mentioned in the chat that you're living in the trailer park.
Yeah, I think Lyle's cousin owns a trailer there that's not much use for anything else. It used to maybe be used for people who are out on the run, on the lam, that kind of thing, hideout place. But yeah, his cousin has loaned it to him. Has basically said, "Hey, you can stay here as long as you like," And so yeah, he's living out there.
Cool. So is this cousin Jake?
Yes, cousin Jake. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So this trailer you're staying in, is that like you're the only one living there, or is it like, oh, we have someone who's temporarily in town doing a job or something? Would they also crash there, or is it just you?
I think largely it's just Lyle. There may
Mhm.
occasionally be other family members who, hang their hat there every now and again.
Cousins.
Cousins from sometimes from out of state, sometimes from out of the country, depending on what particular thing's going through. But yeah.
Cool. So what kind of, like, because when we started the game, we talked about how the mysteries we actually get into, those are the big things that can affect the whole town, but there will be other minor stuff going on in these time skips. So Lyle, what's one or two mysteries that you've been involved in during these intervening years?
We should really get a random generator. You know, like how Lowell's been doing all of those event things. We should
Oh,
throw
yeah,
her
yeah.
in between, right? I think that one of them is has been well, we did a Wendigo, but we did like a spiritual Wendigo as our last adventure, didn't we? I think that one of the weird things that's happened since has been a vampire landlord who was basically, using how the landlord, as long as they give notice, can enter your property. That basically gets around the whole, need to be invited in because technically it's their property. So they have during that window, and I think that was they were preying upon, some of the new build, like dense. I don't really know. American small towns probably don't have much in the way of like apartment blocks, do they?
I mean, sure. Yeah, there's going to be apartments and stuff like that. If maybe it was, what would be an itinerant population that would need short-term rentals that wouldn't get missed if they were gone, as if there's logging or like whatever extractive industries we have here, logging or mining or whatever, preying on those people that would normally come to town, work for a season, and then be gone.
We talked about logging.
That might make sense. Yeah, loggers. Yeah.
I imagine one of these, and this is maybe just me from American television, one of these like 2-story buildings with like a courtyard with that's very disheveled and not well maintained, with like the gallery you walk around, that sort of thing.
Yeah, sure.
Cool. So was this something that Lyle worked alone, or were some of the other PCs involved, or some NPCs?
I think that Red is the one who put us onto it, as his, he made a friendship with one of these loggers who disappeared, and I think that this guy also owed Lyle some money from a card game at the back of Red that they played together at Red's, and he went looking for him, and when he disappeared, something wasn't quite right with this estate agent, and discovered that these other people had gone. Imagine this real estate being like, oh shucks, I mean, he left without paying his last week's rent, kind of thing. Oh boy. I think that I got Joss to keep an eye on him, telling him that he was a sleeper agent for the USAF.
If you see him, you be sure and let me know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think I got the whole group involved after nearly getting my head ripped off breaking into his office.
Cool.
I only survived thanks to the amulet glowing or something, right, and sending him back.
Oh yeah, cool. Dot, you helped with this vampire landlord. Are there any other notable mysteries you've been involved with?
Oh, absolutely. there was a haunting in the psychiatric wing of the prison,
Ooh.
and it was a bad one.
Mm-hmm.
You know, psychiatric hospitals are not the happiest places, and they tend to have some disturbances about them. And one of the patients who was there was...
I'm losing sound right now.
Okay, you back with us?
Yeah, everyone's picture is frozen or very choppy. I think maybe I'll try turning my I've turned my camera off and see if that helps.
Okay.
Give it a couple of seconds to catch up.
You sound okay to us?
Someone said something, but I did not hear what it was.
Can you hear us now?
I heard that. It was pretty choppy, but I did hear it. The images are pretty much like shifting every couple of seconds. So
Maybe
let's
take a break.
try it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want to take a break to catch up?
There was
Bandit?
a haunting at the psych wing. Was this at the prison or the hospital? I didn't hear what
Well,
you said.
the psych wing is at the prison.
The prison.
Yes. So there was a patient who was inadvertently killed when staff was trying to restrain him. It wasn't intentional, but you know, what does intent matter to somebody who's dead? They're dead.
Mhm.
So there was a whole lot of malice there. And, you know, that's malice stacked on top of the mental health issues that got that person to the psych wing and to the psychiatric hospital in the first place, or the psychiatric wing.
I caught most of that, but the sound is still very choppy here. I think I'll try leaving the studio and come back in again. Yeah, let's take a break.
Okay.
Let's take 10 minutes.
Okay.
I'll shut everything down and we'll see if that helps.
You can pop.
Yeah, I paused the recording and now it's back on again.
Cow.
I hope. I'm not sure. It said that it would still keep going even though I left the studio and everything. We'll see. Anyway, yeah. So you were involved with a haunting in the psych wing of the prison.
Yes.
A patient who had. I'm repeating this because I only caught some of it.
Yes.
A patient who had been inadvertently killed when he was being restrained. Was that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
The
A
name
patient
was-
named Forrest Alston.
Forrest Alston. Yeah.
And, you know, everybody knew it was a tragic accident, but, you know, what does a ghost care about it being an accident? They're a ghost. You know, they're dead as a result, and, you know, people should suffer. I think this is one of those. I think this is one of the cases where we could actually kind of, weirdly enough, talk it through with the ghost.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, once we realized what had gone on, I mean, it's not like you can really make amends or anything like that, but we were able to push forward changes through my dad to ensure that such things were clearly against policy and would be extraordinarily unlikely to ever happen again, and get some discipline for the people who are responsible for it.
Cool.
So, I mean, that was probably, I have no objection to everybody being in on that. I think it was probably sad as opposed to more action or adventure or frightening.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just, it was a major bummer all around.
So, did you tell your dad that there was a ghost, or did you just talk about, oh, I found this while searching through the old files or something?
Well, it's not even so much that it was an old file. It's that it happened not long before he arrived.
Hmm.
And because of that, he could look at it and say, oh, clearly that's something that shouldn't have happened because he wasn't
Yeah.
on the hook for it. So he
Cool.
could push forward change on that. And as a result, was able to get the orderlies who are responsible for the death not fired, but disciplined,
Hmm.
and was able to implement policies that reduced, if not eliminated, the risk of such an adverse event occurring in the future.
Yeah. So there was probably some sort of, like, technically there was an investigation going on. It was just like nobody was doing any work on it. They were just waiting for it to
Die down, blow over, whatever.
Yeah.
And, it just so happened that the daughter of the prison warden happened to stumble across that while doing some research, and after hearing some unsettling stories from people in the low security wings. And, we were able to kind of find out what happened and dig through some old files and pull that particular file up and surface it to the new warden, who was willing to do something about it.
Hmm. So was this something that he was happy to do, or was it like, I guess I need to deal with this? Was he reluctant, or was he
He was. I think the best way to describe it is that he looked at it. He looked at the file and how long it had taken for nothing to be done, and he was outraged by it. Like I said, he's broadly supportive of Innocence Project efforts. It's just that he doesn't necessarily think any of them are relevant to the inmates that he supervises because they're all clearly guilty.
Mhm.
It's kind of a cognitive dissonance that he has to build into his worldview to do what he does.
Yeah.
But having stumbled across that, he could clearly say this is wrong, and something has to be done about this.
Mhm.
So it let him feel kind of like a hero who was able to reform something and improve things for other people, at least in the psych wing, if not the prison overall.
Yeah. Cool. Nice. So Joss, have you been involved, other than like helping out with these mysteries that we've already talked about? Have you been involved with anything like that?
Yeah, I was the first one to break the knowledge that the US Air Force have released a mind-controlled mantis shrimp into the lake in an effort to kill all native creatures and generate a food source for aliens.
So is that what actually happened, or is this Joss' view of something different?
That's Josh's view of what's happened, but there was a mantis shrimp infestation in the lake that we dealt with. Yeah.
A psychic mantis shrimp infection.
Well, yeah. Why not? Because the greys can give the mantis shrimp. It's the symbiotic relationship between the mantis shrimp and the greys.
Yeah, mantis shrimp are like what? So like maybe like mutated ones, like a few.
You want them big, do you?
Yeah. God, yeah. I want something that we can fight, right? Like.
Well, no, we can fight these. There were lots of them. I think this is lots of very small creatures that maybe could pull together in some psychic swarm and leave the lake into the environment, clearly into the woods that me and Pat first met, and that very much displeases Joss. They're sacred woods. They are. So I think our mission was to defeat the psychic mantis shrimp creatures that would come out of the lake, form up into a large ball, come out of the lake, and do nastiness in a sort of a Doctor Who-y kind of very poor special effects.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
In
So you
only
had
the way
to-
the BBC can do special effects with such a limited budget. Well, you know, it's public money. You got to spread it around.
You had to defeat the Voltron psychic mantis shrimp form.
Of course, yes. So yes, that was our mystery in the 4 years that Josh was probably most involved in.
Cool. Like that a lot. I'm getting some choppiness again, but hope this will last a little bit longer. Pat, what's a mystery you were involved in these intervening years?
I mean, I like the idea that we've got a lake monster, like a Nessie, what's a like Champ from Lake Champlain, like a lake monster that people that supposedly lives in the lake that people haven't seen. I think we're going to call it Coney, like pine cone, Coney.
Oh,
Coney,
yeah, cool.
the lake monster, because it's got like I think it's less like a plesiosaur or something like that than like a gigantic turtle. And so like when
Ooh.
it kind of surfaces, it looks like it's like a big pine cone kind of, like just under the surface of the water, right?
Very cool.
And I think this is a thing where like, I kind of like the idea that it's like a thing where Pat has encountered it. I mean, if it's been how long's our time gap here?
About 4 years.
Okay, so Pat's encountered it maybe like half a dozen times in those 4 years, but no one else has seen it. And so
that's very cool.
yeah, he's like, and maybe he even, I think maybe it even, it kept him from drowning or getting, getting skeletonized by the shrimp or something like that. And has saved his bacon once or twice when he's gone into the lake. But it's, it's mysterious. For some reason, it seems to have a connection to Pat, but like it hasn't talked to him or anything like that.
Yeah.
But like Pat is convinced it's out there, that it's a thing that exists. I suspect that, I think he's kept it to himself. If the rest of you as players are okay with the idea that Pat has maybe kind of, did you see that? And they go like, what are you talking about? And Pat goes, oh, nothing, like that kind of thing. So it's a thing he's carrying around with him, but not necessarily, kind of broached with the others.
Could it be that Red has also seen Piney, or at least talks about having seen Piney? Or do you want this to be a thing specifically for Pat?
No, let me take a look at our a list of NPCs here.
I don't think we have Red
and stuff
on there yet. Maybe.
Yeah, Red's not on there, I don't think.
We talked about Red. I think he's your contact from the team playbook. Yeah, he's your ally.
Let me see here. Oh, you know what? It's I'm gonna say it's Deputy Patterson. Ann Patterson. Ooh. Deputy Patterson. Because she's the one that has like the town patrol boat, right?
Mm-hmm.
So she's the pilot of the police department's, motor skiff that they ride around on the lake and, whatever. She's got like the big spotlight on it and stuff like that. And she and I have been out on that boat a couple of times and, and like, like maybe we've got a little bit of a will they, won't they kind of thing going on. because I've like she's the only other one that knows about Piney. We have talked about it, but we understand, like, nobody else has seen it, so we don't seen her. We're convinced it's a her, but but nobody else knows about it. But she and I have like we're in the boat together when we saw it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she was at the school, as I recall. Her and Deputy Clark, the sheriff's son, they were the two deputies who were there. And I think she's because I think she talked about some things she saw at the school that were really weird. So now people think, oh, she's a bit off. She still does her job really well and all of that. She passes her psych evaluation, which is basically interviewing with a sheriff. Like, he talks to her or someone at the hospital, and
I also kind of like the idea that, like, she's the only one that can keep that boat running. She's like the whatever, like the outboard whisperer or something like that. Yeah.
They need her, so she gets a pass, basically. Cool. I like that. I think my sound is doing fine, but my head is doing less fine. So now that we have we talked through a bit about what's happening in these intervening years, some mysteries that have been going on. Is there something important that any of you want to add before I end this session?
I think there must be some sort of scam that Lyle's cooked up with Joss at the video store, some kind of fudging the books or something like that, like maybe, like,
I mean, the easiest thing to do at the video store is to take the tapes, copy them in back, and then sell the bootlegs out the back door.
Yeah, bootleg videotapes.
Sounds well with your criminal connections, Lyle.
Yeah, exactly.
So
And it's also the kind of petty shit that Lyle would be involved in too. So that's
Yeah.
I like that.
Labels in Sharpie on the side and stuff.
Yeah. Anything else? Cool.
Actually, there is one thing. I think the town has changed somewhat from its quite. I think we're now seeing sort of commercialization brands.
Mm-hmm.
So Shady Store Video Store has suffered quite a bit by the influx of some Nemesis brand called Blockbuster. Joss has got this idea that it won't last forever, but everybody says Blockbuster's the future. But, Joss is sure that it'll
they don't carry. They don't carry porn. How are they gonna
exactly
make
it? Adult entertainment from the back door, should we say?
The room back with the beaded curtain that you have to walk through to get in.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. The town might have a Starbucks as well.
And I think that sort of upsets Josh. I think he feels that the town was even with its flaws, the center of the town was a good beating heart, and now he's seeing sort of
the big chains moving.
Yeah, the big chains are coming in. I know big chains tend to be sort of quite sort of state or regional based because the states are so big. But Pizza Hut, a branded sort of burger joint, when there was nothing, as far as Josh is concerned, there was nothing wrong with Reds, nothing wrong with CD Store. There was nothing wrong with anything in the town because Josh sort of wants time to stop as far as he's concerned. So he is slightly disappointed with the influx of because they are controlled by the government, and the government is controlled, by something else.
Nice. Yeah, I think we'll end it there, and we'll pick up next week with getting into the next mystery.
All right.
Take care, everyone, and I'll see you in a week.
See you in a week.
See y'all next week. Be well.
Bye.